we go live to the summit of the G77 and I want to listen to the statement of Daniel Ortega, the President of the Republic of Nicaragua. Let's listen.
Cuban brothers and sisters, men and women, youth,
de estas familias
people
heroicas
from these heroic families
que cumplen ya 60 años
that for 60 years
enfrentando,
have been
resistiendo
facing
y
growing
venciendo
challenges
a lo que
and mostly overcoming
Claro que
these
sí.
challenges. Yes,
querido hermano presidente Miguel
my
Canel,
brother,
Raúl,
President
hermano,
Canel,
compañero,
Raúl, my comrade, my brother,
porque el objetivo
because
claro del imperio ha sido
the objective of the empire
derrumbar
has been to win over Cuba,
destruir el modelo socialista
destroy the socialist model
infinitamente justo,
that is
solidario,
fair and solidarity
con su pueblo
with his
y con
people
los pueblos
and
del mundo.
with the peoples worldwide.
Y el hecho es que el presidente
The
de los
fact
Estados
is
Unidos
that the U.S. President
haya aprobado un
has
año más de
approved an additional year of blockade,
bloqueo, lo hacen pensando
and they do so, and they think
se va
that the
a
Cuban people
desmoralizar
will be demoralized,
cuando este es un pueblo que ha librado
but instead these people is a people that has been waging countless battles
el genio
under the
y la
wisdom
fortaleza
and
de
the
Martí,
strength of Martí,
luego
and afterwards
bajo el genio
under the wisdom
y la conducción
and the leadership
heroica del
of
comandante Fidel
the Commander-in-Chief Fidel
está aquí entre
Castro,
nosotros.
who is among us. He is among us. I'm certain about this. Fidel is reminding of, with his words,
Él también,
what is the path that we have to take?
y el camino es
And the path that we have to take
resistir
is to endure.
condiciones
And in the midst of these conditions, hard conditions,
del daño que se sufre
bear in mind the damage
desde el punto de vista de
that
los derechos humanos
we are
de todo un
suffering when
pueblo
it comes to human rights of an entire people.
que se le está haciendo daño, se le está
And we
asesinando
see how they are being affected, they're damaged
bloqueo criminal.
as a result of this criminal blockade.
Bueno, la verdad es que
Well, the truth is
Cuba
that Cuba
logra resistir
is able
y en
to
medio de la
endure,
resistencia
and in the midst of this endurance,
y estableciendo iniciativas
they come up with initiatives
para que con sus propias fuerzas
so that they use their own ways and means, and also with the support of many other peoples that stand in solidarity, they can continue waging that battle.
porque la batalla de Cuba
Because
es nuestra
Cuba's
batalla.
battle is also our battle.
Y la victoria de Cuba
And
es
Cuba's
nuestra victoria.
victory is also our victory.
Saludos
Greetings
parte del
from
pueblo nicaragüense
the people of Nicaragua
para el hermano pueblo de Cuba,
to the people of Cuba,
para el presidente Miguel Díaz-Canel,
to
que
President
compartió
Diaz-Canel,
trincheras en
who
Nicaragua
fought hand in hand with us in Nicaragua when the U.S. aggression for over 10 years.
y esta reunión,
This summit
la cumbre del Grupo 77,
of the G77 plus China
precisamente muestra
it
que
chose
no han logrado matar
that they have
imperialistas, los
been
colonialistas de la tierra, no
unable
han logrado matar
to kill
el espíritu de lucha.
the fighting spirit. I'm talking about colonialists
La
and
dignidad
imperialists. They have been unable to do so.
de los pueblos.
I'm talking about dignity of the peoples worldwide.
Y aquí estamos diciendo
And
que asumamos el reto. ¿Para qué? Para
so we have
ir
to
allá con espíritu unitario,
move forward
de unidad,
with unity,
con la disposición de
with the
compartir
willingness to share
lo que cada quien logra desarrollar.
what each of us can develop.
Podamos ir creando un polo,
So we can create
un polo de desarrollo económico y social
a social and economic
con
development
soberanía.
area, but with sovereignty.
Defendiendo la soberanía,
At the same time, we have to defend
estamos también
sovereignty.
garantizando la
While we
paz
do so, we are
para poder
guaranteeing peace
avanzar en toda
so that we can move forward.
que recoge la declaración de La Habana,
And I'm talking about also the Havana Declaration and the item that have to do with the development challenges.
precisamente el día de hoy,
Today,
15 de septiembre,
September 15th,
se están conmemorando en Centroamérica
we're celebrating in Central America
los 202
the 202
aniversario
years
de
of
Centroamérica.
independence of Central America
En el año
in
1821,
1821.
no hayan pasado 35 años
Just 35 years had
cuando
elapsed
ya estaban los expansionistas
when
yanquis
the U.S.
invadiendo
expansion
Nicaragua,
was invading Nicaragua,
incluso nombrándose presidente
and they
un
appointed themselves as president
filibustero yanqui,
with the Yankee fortune
se
hunters.
nombró presidente, fusiló
And he
a
decided
los
to
mismos que lo habían llevado.
kill the same people who helped him
Están las disputas
gain the presidency. And the U.S. companies
del canal
were, of course, trying to fight to get over, control over the canal area in Nicaragua
tropa,
and to take
mercenarios,
the troops, mercenaries,
experiencia de combate, lógicamente,
with
con
fighting
armamento
spirit, of
moderno
course,
de la
with
época,
modern weaponry
para
of the time,
ocupar Nicaragua,
to occupy Nicaragua
imponer elecciones.
and to impose elections.
William Walker, el presidente de
And,
Nicaragua,
well, Walker was the president of Nicaragua.
y el embajador yanqui,
And the Yankee ambassador was sitting there,
buscando,
and he was
y Walker quería
favoring that.
apoderarse de Centroamérica.
And they wanted to get hold
Y lo
of
primero
Central
que
America.
decretó fue
And the first thing that Walter said,
imponer la esclavitud
thus they
en
wanted to impose slavery in Nicaragua. With the independence,
Nicaragua. Desapareció las formas de esclavitud
slavery had been abolished
en Centroamérica.
in Central America.
Y llega el yanqui a los
And the
35
Yankees
años,
arrived after 35 years, around 1850, 55,
imponer la esclavitud.
and they imposed slavery on us. But the rebellion
Y vino la unidad
emerged,
del pueblo.
and also the unity of the people and the unity of the Central American
Esta
peoples,
fue una batalla que se
because
libró
there's a battle that was waged
con la unidad de los pueblos
with the
centroamericanos
unity of the Central American
que
peoples,
permitió derrotar
and it enabled them to defeat the invaders.
y el 14 de septiembre
And on the 14th of September
del año
in
1856
1856,
sufren derrota que
they
moralizó
were defeated for the first
a los
time ever,
soldados nicaragüenses,
and
a los
that's
soldados
why
centroamericanos,
the Central American state raised their morale, and it was in a farm
indios flecheros,
where Indians from different
Matagalpa, con
Matagalpa
patriotas
communities,
nicaragüenses,
together with
un número
Nicaraguan
inferior
patriots.
a la tropa
And of course, their
que
number
enviaba
was
Walter
much lower than the
hacia
number of troops that Walter had sent to that farm.
Havana y empezaron a combatir
They engaged in the
y
fight.
en combate
And during the fight,
un soldado Andrés Castro
one of the soldiers,
se queda sin munición,
he had no more ammunition, and he took a stone
y la lanzó contra el soldado.
and he launched the stone to the soldier, and he hit the soldier.
Ayer conmemoramos el
And we
177
celebrated
aniversario de la
an
batalla de San
anniversary of the 100th battle.
Y el pueblo nicaragüense
And the Nicaraguan people
claro, está convencido
is convinced
que no podemos abandonar
that
esos principios,
we cannot
ni
forget
podemos abandonar la
about these
decisión
principles. We cannot put this determination behind, but we have to follow the example of André.
nosotros decimos,
And as we say,
decimos a ese héroe Andrés Castro,
we tell that hero Andrés Castro,
167 años de
167 years
distancia, y
ahead
todos
of time,
nosotros lo sabemos,
and we all know this very well.
el enemigo es el mismo,
The enemy is still the same,
el mismo, que quiere
and what they want is to get hold
de nuestro
of
pueblo,
our
de
peoples,
nuestras naciones,
our nations.
que quiere imponer
They want to impose
su hegemonía
their own hegemony
y luego
in the
se
world,
lanza contra naciones
and
que no
they
tienen política hegemonista,
try to
ni van
get
con amenazas.
on nations that do not favor these hegemony policies, and for example, how they finance actions against China
Le
just
irrita que una nación
because they're angry to see that a nation
como la República Popular China se
like the
acerque
People's Republic of China is actually reaching out to people in Asia, in Latin America, and other regions,
para imponer,
not to impose conditions on
no
them,
para imponer
not to
sanciones,
impose sanctions on them,
sino para
but rather
contribuir
to help
a la
them
progresión de
and to favor process and development of those peoples.
nosotros tenemos ahí un aliado,
And we have an ally
una voluntad de
with
operar de solidaridad,
the will to cooperate,
conociendo estos
to stand
procedimientos.
in solidarity,
Hemos escuchado
and
al representante
we have heard the representative of President Xi
y
Jinping,
ahora es cómo
and now
convertir
we have to see how we turn
enunciados
these
en acciones.
these statements into actions,
Indiscutiblemente que
because it is undeniable that we are taking initiatives as the initiatives taken by the Cuban people to endure as the ones that we take in Nicaragua.
Nicaragua estamos ahí
Nicaragua,
con el pueblo, con la juventud,
we are working hand in hand with the people, the youth, we are working with them.
convencidos que
And we are convinced
tenemos condiciones para
that
poder
we
ir
have
avanzando
necessary conditions to move forward in all
a la
fields,
velocidad, lógicamente,
not at the speed
países,
of developed countries, of course.
las potencias,
The powers that they
cada día.
move forward fast, but we have to win day by day the battle of sovereignty.
Y quiero hacer referencia
I also want to
a lo que
refer
el proyecto de
to
declaración de La
the
Habana
draft
sobre
declaration
retos actuales del desarrollo,
regarding current development challenges, role of science, technology, and innovation. we reaffirm the commitment to favor unity and solidarity of the group in order to attain its objectives and reinforce its role.
¿Qué es lo que permite esto? Que este documento entendemos que ya
We understand that this document
aceptado.
has been accepted.
Estamos de acuerdo con el documento.
We are in agreement with this document, and it means
Respetando el principio,
that we are respecting the principle
el principio de lo que ese prócer mexicano, Benito Juárez,
of what Benito Juárez,
anunciaba.
the Mexican hero, said
Decía,
when he said,
el respeto al derecho ajeno.
respect to others' right, it means peace.
Documento,
And this document,
sabiendo que tenemos aquí en sus características cada país.
bear in mind that each country has its own characteristics and ideology,
Aquí estamos trascendiendo,
but we're going beyond that.
tomando acuerdo
And we are
de ese principio.
taking these agreements, bearing in mind respect for others. We cannot impose conditions on others.
Notamos, decimos,
We note, it reads,
con profunda preocupación
with
que los principales
much
desafíos
concern that the main challenges caused by the current international world order that is unfair for developing countries has reached its highest level at present due,
los
among other things, to the negative effects
de la pandemia del
of
COVID-19,
the COVID-19 pandemic,
que la OMS ha levantado
in spite of the fact that the WHO has raised its emergency level, and we have to take into account the unilateral coercive measures and the different current crises, including the financial crisis, the fragility of the world economy, the increase of pressure on food products, energy, the displacement of people,
la volatilidad de los mercados,
volatility of world markets, inflation, the growing foreign debt, increased poverty, increase of inequality among countries and also among themselves, and the negative effects of climate change, the loss of biodiversity, desertification, sandstorms, degradation of the environment as the digital gaps. And so far, there is still not a clear roadmap to face these challenges. We're committed to these. So we are acknowledging
que como le dijo
that
el cacique
as was said by Montezuma, when he was held prisoner by the Spaniards and they were torturing him, he said, I'm here lying on a rose bed. We're not under a rose bed now. We are saying this clear in this document, and we're saying that this document has been approved.
estamos en un mundo desigual.
We are facing an unequal world where we see that the capitalist hegemony prevails.
También decimos
And
que reiteramos la firme
we
convicción
reiterate our conviction that all states and stakeholders should try to attain world development and a cooperation for scientific and technological development that could be beneficial to us on basis of consultation and shared benefits
aportar
that can contribute with huge benefits to all countries when it comes to a future, a shared future for humanity. This is a major challenge that we have ahead. We have to fight selfishness,
entre nosotros mismos.
because among ourselves we may feel that we are facing better conditions and perhaps we turn our back to other people, because sometimes human nature
Flotando,
is
dados de lo que ha
hit by the different capitalist and neoliberal policies, and this is affecting our peoples. When it comes to their behaviors of our governments, our states, this is a reality. And we also say we reject laws and regulation with extraterritorial scope. Well, in the case of Cuba, it's a reality. This has been condemned in the United Nations. I'm talking about the case of Cuba. We underscore that these principles not only undermine the principles in the Charter of the United Nations. Here in Latin America, there are 3 countries that are targets of the U.S. leaders and also of the EU leaders from the European Union: Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua. And sometimes they discuss, let's say, for a given meeting, some of these 3 countries may attend or not, if President Maduro may attend a given meeting or not, because there are threats coming from those countries that he will be taken prisoner. This is not a rose bed, I stress. I see here a firm and brave position on the side all of us who are part of the G77 plus China. We are committed to these efforts. And bearing in mind that technology is a key issue. I also acknowledge that we have to reject the technological monopolies that affect technological development. Likewise, when we talk about the environment, all that I have talked about, of course, we are in agreement with all these statements. We are in favor of approving this document. But as a previous speaker also explained in his own words, what are we going to do? Which are the steps that we're going to take so that we are approving here in Havana can also be implemented? So we take into account the principle to the right of others. If we don't respect others, then we will begin fighting among ourselves. We cannot actually just focus on our neighbors. We all have problems. In our countries, our own countries, we face difficult issues. But our principle is that we do not mix with different situations that may come up in sister nations. We react only when there are certain attitudes that we have seen only on the side of the Americans and also the European Parliament. So this is a principle that we have to get closer. We have to unite and come up with a work agenda where we can include some of these statements to the upcoming UN meeting that it is around the corner. And we have to take into account this declaration. We can take some of these items and we have to call on people at the United Nations so that we are respected and say they can leave us in peace, because the only way to solve the problems, because we have the capacities. Our peoples have the capacity and the wisdom to overcome hurdles. But if they do not leave us alone, you have to leave us alone. We have to tell the powers, leave us alone. And you will see how we can develop ourselves. I'm talking about all these programs. We are going to see how these issues are implemented. I want to tell you, they are brothers and sisters, they are comrades, also including Asia, Africa, Latin America, Caribbean people that are attending this meeting, that Nicaragua is willing and ready, and we are surviving because we are convinced that we have to come with practical responses to the different challenges. But we cannot surrender, and we have to remain united, all of us. And if we do so, we're going to be able to make this declaration a reality. The Havana Declaration on the current development challenges, the role of science, technology, and innovation. Thank you, dear brothers and sisters.